box is a very useful thing. You can put things in it. It's an efficient use of space. In fact, it's the world's most practical storage solution. It's simple and it's eco-friendly. The new Kia Soul EV. Sure, it's quite boxy, but I like it. It's supposed to be a compact crossover, but I'm not exactly sure where it's crossing over from, or indeed to. What I do know is that I quite like the general proportions. Those squinty headlights, the slabby sides, the rear light that stretches all the way around the rear windscreen like a giant neon hula hoop. I also like the fact that the electric drivetrain is shared with the Kia e-Niro and sister company Hyundai's electric Kona. It means that it's got form and it's tried and tested. And although it's probably not a top priority for anyone wanting a boxy electric runaround, it also handles fairly well. All Souls in this first wave of cars get fancy dynamic dampers. They kind of work, disguising most of the fact that the car is over 1.7 tonnes, making it a pretty big old lump. It's a bit softer than either the e-Niro or the Kona Electric, but that just makes it a really nice car to potter about with. It's also calm, comfortable, you've got great visibility. It's a brilliant car to drive around town, really easy to nip in and out of traffic in, very easy to park. What lets it down slightly though is the steering. It's a bit hyperactive until you get used to it. As with all EVs, as I said, it's quiet. However, listen to that. Windy today, and you really do pick up wind noise, mainly because, well, it's the shape of a box, isn't it? So it's going to do. Aerodynamic, this thing is not particularly. There are 4 driving modes that run right through from Eco Plus to Sport, and it gets the same kind of regenerative braking systems that you find in other electric Kias. You just pull on these little levers here, there, and that increases or decreases the amount of automatic braking you get when you lift off the throttle. What happens is the system then claws back some of the energy usually lost during braking, and it stuffs it back into the battery to improve the range. It's great because I've been driving this car and actually seeing the range shoot up as I drive it, and there is something incredibly satisfying about that. Now, it's powered by a fairly big 64 kilowatt hour battery, which is stowed down there underneath my feet, which means 201 horsepower and 29 pounds per foot of torque. Now, that mouthful equates to this. Should we do the acceleration thing? Because I love the acceleration thing. So let me slow down and then let me put my foot down now. Woohoo! Okay. It's not the speediest of EVs, you do get far more intense ones than that, but 0 to 62 is still just under 8 seconds, top speed of 103 miles per hour. It's really sprightly. Look, it's not fast, but for a car like this, it feels pretty good. But better than that, if you drive it reasonably, it will do, wait for it, 280 miles on a single charge. Now listen, you've got to remember, most of us drive around 15 miles a day, which means you could charge this up once a week, and that is all you would need to do, with a bit of planning when you take longer journeys, of course. And don't forget, if there's anything that you're unsure about, all you have to do is visit electrifying.com and we can explain it all. Well, maybe not everything, because we don't really understand income tax. We're not very good at algebra either. But anything to do with electrified driving, we can definitely help with that. So it's all very useful, but the best bit about a box isn't the box itself, it's the space inside the box. Which is where the Soul really starts to make an impression. For a start, there's loads of headroom. You see, it's boxy. And that makes it feel airy and light. And you also sit upright with a decent view of the road. In fact, everyone gets a decent view. The seats have loads of adjustment and it's very easy to get comfortable on them, especially if you're tall, so I'm told. And it's also got this, Kia's latest version of their infotainment system, which comes in an extremely wide screen, 10.3 inches to be precise. And it is the shape of the screen that I'm not keen on. It just makes things like maps a bit awkward to look at. And it is a shame because apart from that, it works brilliantly. It's very intuitive, really simple to navigate your way around, and it's not too complex when you're using it on the move. It also syncs with Kia's new smartphone app, so you can check the car's state of charge, set it to pre-charge, and even heat it up on a very cold winter's morning, which is something that makes me very happy indeed. There's also leather trim, a swanky Harman Kardon sound system, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a head-up display that projects info onto the windscreen, a wireless phone charger, LED headlamps, and a rear-view camera, as well as loads of other gadgets. And it's very practical. There are plenty of spaces to store all your stuff, including a big glove box. And although the boot isn't actually that big, it's split so you can chuck all the charging cables out of the way underneath the floor, all neat and tidy. When you do need to plug it in, the charge point, a Type 2 unit, is in the front, and it comes with all the necessary cables as standard. It's going to take 31 hours from empty to full on a 3-pin plug, which is about average, but really, who does that anymore? Get yourself a home charging unit fitted and you can cut that to 9.5 hours. A 50 kilowatt public unit sees 0 to 80% in 1 hour and 15 minutes, and if you can find a 100 kilowatt outlet, you'll get 80% from 0 in just under 55 minutes. There's also Kia's immense 7-year warranty, which is class leading, by the way, and Kia always comes up high in motoring reliability surveys, so it should be reliable. Weighing in at just under £34,000 for the first edition cars, the Soul is also slap bang in the middle of the pricing for practical EVs. Now, I have to admit, I have a soft spot for the Soul EV because it was the first full plug-in electric car that I ever drove. That's if you don't count the VW City Strummer, which I drove back in 1998. But that had gears, which was very strange, and that's another story for another time. But back to this one, yeah, when I drove this car, it kind of blew my mind a bit, and it was definitely the car that made me start to love EVs. I was terrified at first, I remember, and then I just started to love the experience. But that car had 100 miles of range. I mean, just contrast it to this, 280 miles of range. It is quite incredible. That was 2014. So when you think what's been achieved in that short 5 years, goodness me, who knows where we're going to be in 5 years' time? But saying that, there's a lot to like here. Now, the Soul EV is one of those Marmite cars, and you are either going to love the way it looks or you really, really won't. But it does make an impression. It's also really well equipped, it's practical, and it's easy to drive. I think it's simple with a sense of style, which means it gets an electrifying thumbs up from us.